What's going on, everyone? Welcome back. Today, we've got another live fantasy football mock draft for you back on ESPN with a 12-team full PPR mock where we will be selecting at the 12th overall pick. The final pick should be pretty interesting. And while we wait for this thing to get going, a quick reminder, if you guys enjoyed, hit that like button, subscribe, give us a follow on Twitter at All Day Pigskin to continue interacting with us there. Let us hear it in the comment section, your thoughts, along with any other questions you guys might have. I will do my best to answer them all. And lastly, make sure to check out the 2022 ADP Fantasy Football Draft Guide, now available for purchase. Everything you want, a great value, top 150 overall player rankings, standard and PPR formats, individual player bios, tiers, projections, along with general fantasy advice. All those details in the description. But with that being said, again, let's take a look at these first three picks. For the most part, we have got a full, kind of lobby. There's a couple auto picks, but I'm not seeing anything too crazy, so I'm hoping this is pretty accurate and there's not, any craziness in terms of the players being selected. But yeah, the first four picks, nothing egregious. Jonathan Taylor, Cooper Kupp. I think that was one of the auto picks. ESPN is very high in Cooper Kupp currently, so he goes second overall. Then Christian McCaffrey, Austin Eckler, Jamar Chase. I would not be selecting Cooper Kupp that high. I think that's pretty much the consensus. I don't see really any scenarios where McCaffrey and Eckler go after Cooper Kupp. Then Jamar Chase goes fifth overall, pretty wild considering that Justin Jefferson is still there. Especially this being a PPR format, full PPR. I think, maybe if this was a standard scoring league, you can try and make the case about Jamar Chase right there alongside Justin Jefferson. But in terms of the volume that he's going to see, I think it's Justin Jefferson easily over Jamar Chase. Then Najee Harris with the 106. So right now I'm kind of looking at the situation, trying to decide what I want to do at the 112 and then at the turn. I think we need to get at least one running back. That's pretty, obvious. And then depending on what wide receivers are available, we can look at the wide receiver position as well. Like, if we were able to get Dalvin Cook and then maybe a DeAndre Swift or, Aaron Jones, I'd be very, very happy with that start. Because, again, this is one of the tough things about, kind of navigating these waters of being at the extremes of either first overall or last overall within these drafts. You essentially have to wait 20-plus picks, depending on the size of your leagues, to draft again. And that's really going to deplete the pool, the talent pool. Guys that would oftentimes drop now won't. And you're going to have to reach on players. And, it's going to be a situation where I think, you have to go by your board and not necessarily by the rankings that you see. So here I think we got really lucky, actually. We saw a huge run on wide receivers. Justin Jefferson, Debo, Devontae Adams, Stephon Diggs were the last four picks. So Dalvin Cook is available for us with the last pick in the first round. I think that is a no-brainer of a selection in full PPR. I have him ranked ahead of Najee Harris, ahead of Derrick Henry. So Dalvin Cook is going to be one of our picks. Now here, what do we do with our second pick? I don't love the wide receivers. If Devontae Adams was there, if Stephon Diggs was there, they'd be up for consideration. So now essentially what I'm doing is I think there's a tier drop with these wide receivers. I'm not as high on CeeDee Lamb as I would be on these other running backs. So to me, it's going to be your running back. It's going to be Mixon, Swift, Aaron Jones, maybe Saquon Barkley. If I'm treating this as my, official, actual draft, how it would go, I'd take Aaron Jones. So let's just go with that. Don't get me wrong. I really like the upsides of Joe Mixon, of DeAndre Swift. I just think that Aaron Jones is set up for a huge season without Devontae Adams. So I've been saying that since day one. I've, recently put out my top 5 must-own running backs from the year. Aaron Jones is the poster child for that category. So it might be a quote-unquote reach by where he's ranked per the ESPN projections, but I think Aaron Jones could very well go in the first round. In fact, I've even said I'd be okay, similar to an Austin Eckler last year, a guy that was being drafted at the end of the first round, sometimes even drops to the second. I'd be okay drafting him in the top 5. So Aaron Jones, to me, at the turn in the second round, I really like that value. Other guys, if it wasn't Aaron Jones, Joe Mixon, Swift, Barkley, I'd prefer to know more information about Alvin Kamara's suspension before investing a pick in him. And speaking of suspensions, we're actually recording this shortly after the public news of Deshaun Watson's suspension. 6 games. I imagine it's going to stay at 6 games. We'll see. But curious to see if anyone here will draft Deshaun Watson, and if so, where. My 2 cents is, would I draft him? Yes, I would still draft him. But it's all about the draft price. If you're drafting him before the 10th round, where guys like Stafford, Russell Wilson, Derek Carr are still available, I just don't agree with that. But let's see what's happened after our selection of Aaron Jones. We kind of went on a tangent. Joe Mixon, that makes sense. Travis Kelce, yeah, I figured that might happen. Getting one of the top tight ends, usually where they go, especially, in leagues where some people are more aggressive with the tight ends. DeAndre Swift at the 204, very good value. Leonard Fournette at the 205, CeeDee Lamb at the 206, then Tyreek Hill. So now we've gotten to the point where I would say there's some really good value on running backs. Kamara, Barkley, Ezekiel Elliott, Nick Chubb. So, in fact, the last 2 picks have been running backs. James Conner, Saquon Barkley, funny enough. As far as wide receivers, Keenan Allen isn't going to get to us. I mean, folks, we need to basically wait another 14 picks. So, again, that's why I said we can pretty much just scroll down this list of names that you see until we get into the 30s, like Kamara, Javonte Williams, Cam Akers, Keenan Allen, T. Higgins, DJ Moore, David Montgomery, Mike Evans, Mark Andrews, Jalen Waddle, A.J. Brown. You can forget about all those names. We'd probably looking at the likes of Michael Pittman, Terry McLaurin. As far as wide receivers are concerned, Mike Williams, Marquise Brown, guys of that ilk. But I'm okay with that. I think, a combination of Michael Pittman and, let's say, Terry McLaurin is a very formidable combination. So I'm okay with that. I think both those guys can have, big breakout seasons. And, again, going back to the draft board here, I mean, call us just what you will, but the last 4 picks have all been running backs. We alluded to it. I said right around the end of the 2nd round, early 3rd round, and I anticipate this is going to be the case in a lot of drafts this year. It's a pretty sweet spot for the running back position. Cleaning up on guys like Chubb, Kamara, Barkley, maybe even Zeke. If Zeke falls to me in the 3rd round, I think that's going to be insane if he does. And I would absolutely pounce on that. Other names here, I'm totally fine passing on Cam Akers. I've said that so many times before. I'm intrigued whether Mark Andrews drops to us. I'd probably say no. Other names, at running back, you guys know how I feel about Travis Etienne. I very much so am a fan. So he's somebody that may be, but he's ranked 64th overall. I've already got 2 running backs. We'll see if Ezekiel Elliott is there. I'd probably go Zeke first, and then Travis Etienne. I have them ranked very, very closely together on the season. The last 3 picks, Keenan Allen, T. Higgins, and Cam Akers. So now we're going to do a little bit of a switch. Now it's going to be some wide receivers again. Mike Evans right now, a very, very good value. DJ Moore, Michael Pittman. There goes Mike Evans, exactly right on cue. It's almost like we've done hundreds of these or something. And yeah, there goes Zeke. I knew he wouldn't make it to us. DJ Moore goes. So honestly, if Travis Etienne is there, I really like having 3 dependable running backs. I think there's a huge drop off after Travis Etienne. I knew that Ezekiel Elliott more than likely wouldn't make it back to us. So right now, I think guys like a David Montgomery probably go before our pick. There goes Mark Andrews. And looking at all these names that are ranked ahead of Travis Etienne, I would, in a heartbeat, take Travis Etienne ahead of them, ahead of Miles Sanders, ahead of Elijah Mitchell, ahead of Gibson, ahead of Jacobs, ahead of Breece Hall, ahead of Dobbins, ahead of David Montgomery. I'm losing my breath saying how many players I think should be ranked lower than Travis Etienne. I'm that bullish on him this season for especially PPR formats. Now, yeah, let's see who goes next. Oh, you gotta be kidding me. Travis Etienne just went at the 308. Wow, it's like the other people on on the other side of this thing are listening to me. Wow. That is, I'm not gonna I'm not gonna lie to you, that's kind of brutal. That is a little bit devastating. I guess we go David Montgomery. He'd be my next highest ranked running back. Yeah, it's kind of a drop off. Now, if anything, I feel very, very fortunate for having gone back to back running backs here. I think makes us look a lot smarter, if you will. Ideally, we go two wide receivers here. Going somebody like I was about to say Terry McLaurin, but he just got drafted. I'm not the biggest Deontay Johnson believer this year. Let's look at the wide receivers and see what we're working with. So Jalen Waddle, Mike Williams. Like, I'd rather go Allen Robinson than so many of these names. Honestly, I would. He's ranked so low, though. I'm gonna do an experiment here, and I'm gonna take Montgomery is my next best ranked running back. I'm gonna go Montgomery to get that depth, and then here I'm gonna go with probably Mike Williams, Marquise Brown. Those are my two guys right now. Brown dealing with a hamstring, so I mean, I don't think he's gonna be dealing with that situation when he come like early September. Jalen Waddle's tempting, but who do I believe? He's basically still the number 2 on that team. You could make the same argument for Mike Williams. Who do you believe more as a passer? Herbert, Tua? It's Herbert. I'm going Mike Williams. So there we go. I'm really, really hoping we can get like an Allen Robinson as our number 2 wide receiver. That's kind of what I'm banking on. I wanted to get 3 running backs, and this is one of those situations where it's really tough sometimes drafting out of that final spot at those extremes. But this is why we do these mocks to navigate those waters. Personally, I think no matter the year, drafting last overall is pretty tough, especially if you're kind of inexperienced. But I'm gonna do my best to put together a team that I think can definitely contend. I think it's unfortunate here because a lot of guys that I was really high on were all taken before us. And, Zeke, Etienne, Pittman, Terry, they all could have lasted, at the end of the 3rd round. I think that's absolutely plausible come your draft days. But in this specific mock draft, that's not how it played out. After a Mike Williams selection, you see A.J. Brown. I'm not an A.J. Brown believer with Jalen Hurts. That's just me. Breece Hall, I think the 3 running backs right now we have are much better options than Breece Hall. As far as wide receivers are concerned, yeah, there goes Deontay Johnson. I said before, I'm not the biggest Deontay Johnson fan without Big Ben, and especially with Pickens being there and still Claypool. I think that if you're expecting another top 10 season from Deontay Johnson this year, you're going to be kind of disappointed. So right now, ideally what we can do here in these next 2 rounds is get 2 wide receivers that we're high on. So guys like maybe a Juju, guys like an Allen Robinson. There goes Kyle Pitts. I'm not even paying attention to the tight end position, honestly. We need to load up on wide receivers, high upside wide receivers at that. Let's look at the kind of big board as a whole, not just looking at the wide receiver position. I will say Josh Allen, I believe, first quarterback off the board, lasts until the 408. One of the later spots that I've seen him go, this is a little bit more reminiscent of how I would treat, a actual draft, which for what it's worth, the quarterback position you can always wait on. The running back position, the most important position, and then that sweet spot for wide receivers this year, I think, is probably like the 4th round. A lot of great names going, still available. End of the 3rd, 4th, 5th round. It's kind of playing out this way, so I can appreciate the individuals that I'm drafting with. Maybe it has something to do with some of these auto pickers, but I think so far we're getting a pretty accurate representation of at least in my rankings, in my projections for the 2022 season, how I would go about a kind of draft. So I'm trying to see if anything crazy has been happening here. After Josh Allen, you see Marquise Brown. So yeah, there goes Patrick Mahomes. So we might see a little bit of a run on quarterbacks here, getting to be a good value. The top tier guys, if, they're available at the end of the 5th round, at that point in time, yeah, I mean, they make some sense. So right now, I think we might get lucky. I don't want to jinx ourselves, but wide receiver, guys that we still, again, really like. Mooney. Let's just look at the wide receivers overall. So Mooney, guys like Michael Thomas, Allen Robinson, Juju Smith-Schuster, I have to imagine isn't that much further down this list. Rashad Bateman is still there. So, yeah, I mean, I think we're in a good situation. I don't think all of these guys are going to be drafted by the time we get to our next 2 picks. I imagine maybe a couple of them will, but, I think we'll be okay. I think we can at least get maybe a combo of Allen Robinson and Rashad Bateman or Juju Smith-Schuster. So I think that's a good spot to be in. And one of those guys, would be on the bench. So I like where we're at right now. Elijah Mitchell's just went at the 4.11. I'd be avoiding him like the plague, especially with Trey Lance being the quarterback now. I think he's going to just ruin that rushing attack. I mean, great thing for Trey Lance, but not necessarily a good thing for the other San Francisco weapons, especially at the running back position, a.k.a. Elijah Mitchell. Jerry Jeudy just went. So, yeah, right now at the forefront, wide receiver. There's a lot of guys here on this list that shouldn't be ranked this high, in my opinion. Like, I don't know how you can rank Amon-Ra St. Brown this high, considering the competition that he's going to have for targets this year. I don't know. Another guy I was going to say, I don't know how you can have Gabriel Davis ranked that high. I mean, the guy literally I think had 35 catches last season. Chris Godwin is very intriguing, but what's going to happen with his injury? We need that answered first. Guys like, DK Metcalf without a quarterback. Same with Tyler Lockett, Amari Cooper. With Deshaun Watson being suspended 6 games, I would have him lower. So there goes Darren Waller. Let's see if George Kittle makes it back to us. That'll be interesting. It might be a little bit tempting. But I think I'd still probably lean 2 wide receivers, honestly. Yeah, there's a chance that he makes it back to us, right around the 68th range. But it might be a little bit optimistic, I'd say. Yeah, and there goes George Kittle. Man, it's like we're predicting this entire thing. This is one of more of the fascinating, interesting, but also frustrating mock drafts that we've done because, we've gotten sniped so many times, so many of these players that we've been hoping for. It's basically like we're drafting against a bunch of other individuals that are thinking the same way as us, which oftentimes, can be very frustrating because, part of the fun with these drafts is you taking advantage of, the fact that not everybody has the same rankings that you do. And so from time to time being able to get some steals. The last couple of picks after Darren Waller, George Kittle, you see Brandon Cooks, Antonio Gibson. So, let's see if there's any value left at the running back position, but I'm not going to be touching the position for a while. Miles Sanders would be my highest ranked guy at this point in time. Rashad Penny's intriguing, but he's definitely a later round guy, especially with the 3 running backs that I have. Chris Godwin just went. So, yeah, I mean, we're 4 picks away from landing 2 very solid wide receivers. I definitely would have considered George Kittle as an option at tight end, but, I mean, we don't have that possibility anymore. So, I mean, to some extent, that's easier for us. Allen Robinson, Juju Smith-Schuster, call it a day. I think that's the way we go. Or Rashad Bateman. I think you can't go wrong with either guy. Juju Smith-Schuster is going to be the number 2 behind Travis Kelce. Bateman's going to be the number 2, probably behind Mark Andrews. Similar situations. Who do you believe in more as a passer? Probably Patrick Mahomes. I think people are sleeping on Juju Smith-Schuster this year. I really do. So I'm okay taking him. Rashad Bateman, I really do like the upside. Lamar Jackson just went. I totally forgot about the quarterback position, honestly. It's so far removed from what I want to do. Yes, Kyler Murray, in the 6th round, is tempting, but I need to load up on wide receivers. I really, really do. So, ideally, I can get Allen Robinson here. That's the guy that I'm hoping and praying for. There goes DK Metcalf. I'm going to go Allen Robinson here immediately. And then, do we go Juju Smith? Do we go Rashad Bateman? You know what? I'm going to go Juju Smith. I've been going Rashad Bateman a bunch. I'm going to go Juju Smith-Schuster this time. I'd love to hear your thoughts on, who you prefer, Juju Smith or Rashad Bateman. But yeah, I think it's a good situation. I like both those guys. Juju Smith-Schuster just immediately goes to our bench, and getting more depth at the wide receiver position. So I like where we're at. I think there's no chance in hell Rashad Bateman falls to us in the next round. But crazier things have happened, I guess. Other wide receivers, DeAndre Hopkins, kind of tempting. Once he comes back from his suspension, 6-game suspension. Alan Lazard also. I think we're going to be able to get at least Alan Lazard. There goes Darnell Mooney. So starting to clean up on some of the wide receiver value right now. Hunter Renfrow is still there. Rashad Bateman is still there. I mentioned those names. A tight end, let's see if there's a tight end run. I'd imagine here towards the end of the 6th, early to mid 7th round, there's going to be a tight end run. So Schultz, Hawkinson, Goddard, Zach Ertz probably all belong in that range. And probably won't get back to us, but I'm okay with that. I'm okay with just getting a guy in Cole Kmet. So, yeah, that could definitely be worse. But right now, after having gone, there goes right on cue. Dalton Schultz, the first tight end. Is it going to start the run? We'll see. But we went Dalvin Cook, Aaron Jones. I will say, I think we went with the right move there, going 2 running backs. There was maybe some thought going wide receiver, running back, wide receiver. I'm very, very happy we went running back, 2 running backs. If I had gone Dalvin Cook and then like a tight end or a wide receiver, having Montgomery as my second running back and then the depth afterwards being what it is, I would not have felt nearly as good as I do about this roster right now. Yes, our wide receivers, we probably don't have a guy that's going to be a lock for a top 10 finish, but I like the upside for all these dudes. So I think we've done an all right job there. After some of these last couple of picks, again, let's just kind of run down after a Juju Smith selection. Amon-Ra, Courtland Sutton, Devin Singletary, Darnell Mooney, Hunter Renfrow, Dalton Schultz, TJ Hawkinson. So yeah, boys, I was right about that tight end run again. We're seeing a lot of these things play out exactly how I'm calling them. It's very interesting. There goes Zach Ertz. Yeah. Adam Thielen, Amari Cooper sandwiched in between that tight end run. There goes Kyler Murray. Very good value on Kyler Murray, all things considered. But I can't have drafted him when I needed to address the wide receiver position like I wanted to, like I needed to in the last 2 rounds. But either way, very good value on Kyler Murray. If Dallas Goedert is there for us at the end of, what's that going to be, the 7th round, then I'll probably take him. Yeah, I'll probably lean that way. Other wide receivers, I mentioned it before. Running back, somehow Miles Sanders is still available. Like at this point, he's becoming decent value. Wide receivers, I don't think he'll make it back to us, but Rashad Bateman, he is the guy on my list that I would prefer. There goes Devonta Smith. Yeah, Rashad Bateman ain't going to make it back to us. There's at least going to be 3 wide receivers chosen in this round before it's our turn to make a pick, and Rashad Bateman is definitely going to be one of them. So, oh well, them's the breaks. Cordero Patterson, Devonta Smith, the last 2 picks. Let's see if, Dallas Goedert goes. Quarterback-wise, the top quarterbacks are off the board. Jalen Hurts, I'd rather have other guys, than Jalen Hurts. All guys like Joe Burrow, Russell Wilson, Matthew Stafford, hell, even Derek Carr. I'm a big Derek Carr believer this year. So give me all those guys ahead of Jalen Hurts. I think he's just too dependent on his legs. I really do. And that worries me a little bit. Honestly, I think it's going to be a similar situation to last season in terms of the finish. I don't believe in him as a passer, so that's just my 2 cents. He's definitely a guy that, if he absolutely explodes, I'm okay having not drafted him and having passed on him. One of those situations. So, there goes Rashad Bateman. Folks, he made it to the 705. We got close, but wasn't meant to be. Was not meant to be. And then there goes Dak Prescott, Miles Sanders, Tyler Lockett. So, Dallas Goedert, again, still there. Wide receivers, Drake London, Christian Kirk, Elijah Moore. Elijah Moore kind of tempting, I'm not going to lie. DeAndre Hopkins, just tough to draft Hopkins at this point in time when I know he's going to miss 6 games, when there's guys like, Alan Lazard, guys like, hell, even Elijah Moore that are available. So even Brendan Ayuk, or a tight end, or even going a quarterback that you really like. And as soon as I say quarterbacks, there's a quarterback run. Jalen Hurts, Tom Brady. Let's see what happens in the next 3 selections. I might go with the quarterback here with one of these picks. I don't know yet. Haven't decided. Guys that, again, Joe Burrow, Russell Wilson, Matthew Stafford. You guys know how I really like my quarterback, wide receiver, quarterback, running back stacks. So Matthew Stafford here does make a lot of sense. I don't agree that Aaron Rodgers should be ranked ahead of Burrow, Wilson, or Stafford. There goes Russell Wilson. There goes Aaron Rodgers. So, this is kind of an easy selection for us. If we went quarterback, probably going to be Matthew Stafford or Derek Carr. And I'd have Joe Burrow ahead of Trey Lance. I think he's a little bit, safer. Tight end, though, Dallas Goedert is still there. I'm not going to waste any time. We need a tight end. Let's add a tight end. Wide receiver. Let's add another wide receiver. I'm going to wait on the quarterback position. I kind of decided. I'm going with Allen Lazard. So I like the way this thing turned out. I think we kind of salvaged it a little bit. I'm going to queue up a couple quarterbacks here. Because I feel like this has kind of been a little bit of a longer mock than usual. Queue up Matthew Stafford, queue up Joe Burrow, queue up Derek Carr, queue up Trey Lance, and I think we can wind up with one of those guys at this point in time. I'd say probably half to more than half the league has a quarterback drafted, so we're at a good spot there. But overall, kind of just, let's just pretend we plug in one of these quarterbacks here, whether it's Burrow, Stafford, Derek Carr. I think all those guys have top 10 upside. And then looking at our running backs, Dalvin Cook, Aaron Jones. I like how we started. David Montgomery. I feel a little bit more worried if we were relying on him as our RB1 or RB2, but having him as our flex, I feel good about that. Then a wide receiver. We waited for a wide receiver until the 4th and 5th round. We got Mike Williams. We got Allen Robinson. I think we got very lucky there. We got Juju Smith-Schuster. I like that as well. Allen Lazard, maybe picked him a little bit earlier, but I wanted to get another wide receiver I was very high on. We also got Dallas Goedert, a decent tight end. It was either going to be him or Cole Kmet. I decided to go with Dallas Goedert, and then maybe we can even get Cole Kmet a little bit later on. So that's kind of it in a nutshell. I think, again, all things considered, circumnavigating the last pick overall, we did an all right job here. I'd give this a B grade. If these wide receivers that we drafted kind of play up to their potential, I think it does have the possibility to be a B plus type of draft. That's just my 2 cents, but hey, let me know your thoughts in the comment section, whether you agree, disagree, along with any other questions you guys might have. If you enjoyed, hit that like button, subscribe. Make sure to check out the 2022 ADP Fantasy Football Draft Guide. Everything you could want at a great value, all those details in the description. But with that being said, we'll see you guys in future videos.